Welcome to something to talk about.
Yeah, really loud.
Welcome to something to talk about.
Hi, welcome to Something to Talk About. My name is Taco, and this is one of those what if small council videos. Jacaerys Velaryon. All right, are you gonna? There you go. What if small council for Jacaerys Velaryon? If Arik Cargill assassinated Rhaenyra Targaryen. Yeah, that's right. I don't feel like I need to talk about this or do an intro. I feel like we should just go. You guys excited? It's one of my what ifs. My name is Taco. I talk about A Song of Ice and Fire stuff, and I also do what ifs, but only in the vein of small council. What are you talking about? Well, I'll tell you. I'll be making what if videos in the vein of small council that stem from a comment on my Damon Blackfyre Kingsguard vid asking for a small council form. This has stemmed into me thinking about other would-be kings. I will only pull from existing lore, and I will not make up any characters from scratch. That's right, for the most part. None on this one. This is all based on the lore, and it is just my opinion. Please tell me your small council in the comments. So also spoilers, okay? If you don't know anything about the Dance of Dragons or anything in this era, spoilers, okay? I won't spoil too much past the show, but I still will. Actually, a little bit, now that I think about it. Yeah, the split is before the ending of the show right now, but I do kind of reference how characters act later on. So, yeah, if you don't want anything at all spoiled, bye. But if you're okay with it, it's light spoilers. So yeah, that's it. You guys still here? And also remember, just my opinion, if your small council for Jacaerys is completely different, let me know in the comments. Mine is no more valid than yours. Okay, cool. Let's go. The split is in 129 AC. Arik Cargill doesn't find his brother first, and Arik finds Rhaenyra. Wow, how can I not say like a main character's name? Her name, anytime I try to read Rhaenyra, I always mess it up, and he slays her. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, Arik and Arik Cargill, two members of the Kingsguard, they're put on different sides during Dance of Dragons, and they do send the Greens, right? Aegon's side, Aegon II sends Arik over to pretend to be his brother to find Rhaenyra and slay her, but Arik finds him first and they fight. But in this one, they don't. He just walks on in, sees her, ices her. Rhaenyra, dead. Queen, no longer. Queen for like not very long, right? Okay, cool. And that's the split. Simple enough. Okay, the split is simple, but getting Jace on the actual throne isn't so easy. I love these typos, so many. They keep me on my toes. I leave these typos in specifically, to keep me on my toes later on. Because by the time Rhaenyra gets on the throne, Jace isn't here. So we gotta speed things up, right? Like he's gotta get to King's Landing and have a very strong win quicker than Rhaenyra made at the King's Landing. So yeah, I make some crazy leaps. Okay, just so you guys know, I say as soon as the Queen is dead, right after Arik kills her, they get rid of Arik. Jace then immediately flies to Harrenhal to make a deal with Damon. Damon probably wants the throne himself, of course, so he would need to give a pretty good reason for Damon to support him, right? Jace would have to make him, give him a pretty good offer, and that offer is making him hand. That would be the way to go, right? They then fly to King's Landing, letting Damon's Riverland hosts march as well. And they just go for it, and somehow it works. Okay, I don't think it's likely. I don't see it would be all their dragons. I'm about to name it, so I'm not gonna do it now. I don't really see them winning, like logically. But in order for you guys, you wanted a Jacaerys Kingsguard, a Jacaerys what if small council. So in order for you guys to get this, I have to say it was just the best dragon fighting ever. Vhagar was having an off day. I still think one person would fall, and I'll get to that. But yeah, so if you're wondering, wait, I didn't know Damon had a host at this point. So keep in mind the timeline is slightly different in the books and the show. So I did go back and listen to a lot of the book to make this. So because I still had show canon in my head, so I want to get that out. He does not have a big issue getting the Riverland host together. It's not stated that he does at all. He says the Fances fight each other, the Brackens fight the Blackwoods, but that's about it. The Mootons, the Malisters, everybody else moves on over to Harrenhal. And then there's the Sun for a Sun stuff. It takes Jace flies all the way to the Vale and then all the way to the north. All that's at the same time. So he has a little bit of a time to actually get a little bit of a host, a nice size host. And then that's when, Rhaenyra dies, and that's when the split happens. So if you're questioning, wait, he doesn't have an army there at all, you might be thinking of show canon. I think this checks out. Okay, again, just my opinion, but I think this checks out that he does have an army. I wouldn't say the biggest host of all time, but hear me out. Okay, so they fly to King's Landing, letting Damon's Riverland host march as well, and they just go for it, and somehow it works. Jace, Damon, Rhaenys, and Baela all fly to the capital and somehow beat Aemon with Vhagar and Aegon with Sunfire. Yeah. Helaena won't join the fight. She can join the fight. I says can't join, but she wouldn't. If she joined the fight, I don't see a way of it working at all. But I think Helaena just refuses, and Dreamfire doesn't go in the air. So it's going to be, I'm going to go up the top of my head on these ones. Is it Storm Chaser? Is that Baela's dragon? The smallest, definitely. And then Vermax, Caraxes, and Melees just somehow beat over Giant, Vhagar, and Sunfire. And both of their riders, Aemon and Aegon, fall. That's just gonna have to happen in order for this to work. So if you guys are like, that's impossible, okay, then don't watch the rest. Like, I have to have that happen in order to tell this story. I think that's the most likely way that we ever get King Jacaerys, and I think it's very unlikely, but it is the most likely way. So, yeah, I do think one person at least falls in that fight, and I'll talk about that. Okay, so Helaena won't join the fight, and even then, that is still a tall order, and it somehow works. Daemon and Jace take the throne. I'm going to call him Jace for the rest of this. All right, so let's talk about the king. King Jacaerys Targaryen? Yes. He would definitely change his name to further legitimize his claim. He has a big problem with people not seeing him as a Targaryen and not seeing him as the heir and so on and so forth. So he would absolutely change his name. He wants to be a Targaryen. He has that right. He's the king. And keep in mind, this is actually a pretty, I wouldn't say a major practice, but this is a practice. I don't have the guy's name at the top of my head, but there's like, the first Andal king of the Lannisters was whatever I did a short about this. The Honey Badger house. Lyden was a Lyden, but married the Lannister and married in, and there was no other Lannister, so he changed his name to legitimize himself being King of the Rock. So that's kind of a thing, right? And people are okay with it, but like, yeah, let's not change different dynasties. We'll keep you being a Targaryen, right? Okay, cool. So yeah, I see that. Yeah, we do see this in the lore. All right. Okay. So with the help of the Riverland host, they take the throne, but that doesn't mean they win, right? There's still a big old war to still win. So with Aegon and Aemon dead, I see the Baratheons bending the knee. Yeah, the Baratheons aren't really quick to take field anyways in the war. And I see like him not getting Aemon, like, because it was like, oh yeah, we're gonna marry in, blah blah blah. That never happened, and I just see the Baratheons like, all right, we're not gonna fight, and being out. So that takes care of the Baratheons. They're probably going to have to make a deal with them. 100%, I do see a deal having to be made with the Baratheons for them to bend their knee, but I do see them bending the knee. I don't see that fight keep going. But there's two other hosts that we need to worry about. Let's talk about the Lannister host. I even think the Lannister host is going to stop. So they do have a hostage, because Tywin Lannister would be a hostage. And though that doesn't really stop them in the main timeline, I just see the effect of the head being cut off the greens stopping two of the major three hosts. And Lannisters, again, I see a deal being made, but I don't see it coming to bloodshed. All right. So the Reach hosts would keep marching because they still have a dragon and an heir. That's right. They still have Darren. So I do think the Reach, the High Tower specifically, would crown Darren, right? And try to put him on the throne. And maybe they start sieging King's Landing, because all that King's Landing will have is a much smaller Riverland host, right? But without the Lannisters stopping the Northmen host, it'll march all the way to King's Landing, because the Lannisters aren't going to stop the Winter Wolves, right? The first North host that is now marching down, right? They're not getting stopped from the Lannisters. So if whatever is left of the Reach host after fighting the Riverland host, I see the Northmen just stomping them out, right? If they even get through the Riverland host. The Riverlands kind of have a lot of really good victories in the war, right? So they will march all the way to King's Landing and lift it. That is, if there is a siege, they will lift it. So the war wouldn't end overnight. It'll keep going, and I also still see the Reach having to be put in its place, and maybe even the Westerlands. And then, of course, the Greyjoys are going to start losing their crap. Although the Greyjoys do side with Rhaenyra. I don't know if that means that they're still not going to attack the Lannisters. They're probably still going to attack the Lannisters, whether or not it's like, hey, the Queen dead. Now that we have a king, long live Jacaerys. And they're like, what? I can't hear you. No, keep destroying the Westerlands. All right. So yeah. So there's still gonna be a lot of stuff, right? It's not gonna end anytime soon. All right. Where would I? It wouldn't end overnight. It'll keep going. I think Rhaenys would have passed. So I said there was going to be somebody who I think dies. And if anything, I think it would be Rhaenys with Meleys would die, just like she did with the Battle of Rook's Rest. I see it happening at the Battle of King's Landing in this. And yeah, so where was I? I see, yeah, taking along with other people, of course, but not any of the other Dragon Riders. It would be a bloody war. And I see it, Jace eventually winning, though he would soon have to marry Baela, and then Joffrey would be named heir. Joffrey, Luke is already dead before all this split, but then Joffrey would still be alive. So Joffrey would be named as heir and married to the youngest daughter of Lord Desmond Manderly. Why did I say Joffrey would marry to the youngest daughter of Desmond Manderly? Well, in the books, Jace stops at White Harbor on the way up north. So he'd stop at White, and that already happened before the split, right? So when he stops there in the books, he makes a deal to marry Joffrey to the daughter, like Desmond Manderly's daughter. So that's still going to happen, and it is securing the north. I do see a rather north presence here, and we'll get to that. They would need to find a peace with the Reach, of course. So the realm being is going to be a little stable here, but again, I don't see anything ending overnight, but I do see at least King's Landing and most of the kingdoms being stabilized. All right, now let's talk about the hand. Yay. All right, we already said who it is. So Daemon Targaryen, of course. Daemon the Rogue, Prince, Bout. All right, like I said, Jace would need Daemon's support, period. Because if he tried to take that throne without giving Daemon a gift, a package, power, Damon would probably assassinate his son-in-law himself, right? His son-in-law, nephew, son-in-law. Is that how it works? Yeah, whatever it is. You guys know what I'm talking about. No, it'd be great nephew, wouldn't it? All right. Anyways, he would have to appease Daemon, right? And I think, yeah, Daemon would take almost complete control, or he would try to, of the council and the kingdom. He's going to try to take complete control right away, possibly leading into war crimes towards the end of the war. So when they're taking out the Reach and maybe even the Lannisters, I see Daemon doing some awful stuff. That being said, he would be strong, yet an unpredictable hand. He does have the most battle experience than anybody else going into the war, well, besides probably Corlys, which we'll get to. And many in the realm would be very unhappy with him having any bit of power. Yeah, the Reach would be super unhappy with him being named Hand. Lannisters, most likely, a lot of people would. And I see him eventually causing more problems than he solves. And once Jace's spot on the throne is more secure, and once Jace actually has a little bit more power, I do see him removing Daemon. Yeah, I think Daemon's going to be a very temporary hand, as much as he doesn't think that. He probably thinks Jace is going to be a temporary king. I think eventually Daemon's going to overplay his hand, and with the help of some other allies that Jace brings in, he's going to kind of try to take over that old regime. So I'm going to have kind of a mixture of old regime and new regime in here, like what the actual Black Council was. And yeah, but let's talk about a new addition who wasn't on the Black Council that Jace is definitely going to bring in, and that is his Master of Laws, Corlys, oh my god, Krian Stark. Why did I say Corlys? Krian Stark. This is a fun one. At the start of the war, Jace already flew north to make the Pact of Ice and Fire, and Krian and Jace hit it off, and they were close friends. It's stated in the books right away that they got really close, and they really like each other. They went hunting, they went hawking, all that stuff. Of course, Mushroom says that Jace married his bastard sister. I'm not going with that. I'm not. Like, we need him to marry Baela. He's not going to be married. Like, there's no way he would be able to take the throne if he was married to a random Stark bastard. That's not going to happen. Maybe he had, like, a night with her, and maybe she comes to court and they hang out. But, yeah, absolutely not. If this is going to work, we can't go with Mushroom on this. Okay. Just so you know. All right, but they were close. That's what I'm trying to get at. So he wouldn't march right away, just like in the main timeline, sending 2,000 Winter Wolves first, being controlled by Roderick Dustin. And that is the first host that he sends. But after Jace and the other Dragon Riders take King's Landing and chop the head off the Greens, right? Aemon and Aegon, he would make his march soon after that. As soon as he has everybody together, he would go. But by the time he gets there, the war would mostly be over. They might still be dealing with the Reach, but you know, it is starting to resolve. Krian would be a very good Master of Laws, and I see Jace being extremely friendly with him. They're probably going to be best friends, right? I do see like almost a Robert and Ned situation, but without one of them being Robert. He would be the strongest man at court that's loyal to Jace. So this is the piece of the puzzle Jace really needs, is if Krian goes there with the Manderleys, all the other Northmen, and they kind of make a little foothold, and there's a lot of North people kind of filling up little spots here and there, and one of them on the small council, he has a strong ally who is not in any way loyal to Daemon. So when it's time to just get Daemon out of here, he's got a pretty good ally to do that. That's what I'm getting at here. So he is the strongest person who is strictly loyal to Jace. So if they eventually do get rid of Daemon, I see Krian helping and likely becoming his hand. I do have a different person who might want that spot, but I do see eventually Krian becoming hand if he wants it. He might want to go back north, but I do see if there are people who are like, oh, he had all that power in the main timeline, but he left right away. Why wouldn't he do that here? Why would he stay and be Master of Laws? Because Jace is his friend in this timeline. It's not a different, smaller Targaryen. It's not Aegon III, right? It's not some random kid he's never met, and he's just going to clean up the riffraff and leave. No, this is somebody who he really likes, somebody he made a really good pact with. And that pact is already gone it's with Jace's death in the main timeline, he no longer can get the Pact of Ice and Fire. So that's probably why he's like, all right, whatever, Aegon, let's just get rid of a bunch of people and leave. That's not going to happen this time. He has an alliance and a friendship with Jace, and I see him staying. That's what I see. All right, let's keep moving. Grand Maester. That's a boring one. I can't say this guy's name. Gerardis is the Maester who served Princess Rhaenyra Targaryen on Dragonstone. Then he later became the Grand Maester of Queen Rhaenyra on her Black Council. So I don't see it being any different here. He would sit on the council and do Maester stuff. We know that Rhaenyra eventually questioned his loyalty later on when he disagreed with her about something, which is needless for me to spoil. I said I already gave you guys a spoiler warning, but I'm not going to talk about stuff I don't need to. But the thing he disagreed on with her on, she was crazy, right? Like it wasn't a thing that Jace is gonna. Do I need to say it? Something about just getting rid of all the dragon seeds, right? I ended up saying it. Never mind. So Rhaenyra, I gave you spoiler warnings. Don't get mad at me. Rhaenyra butted heads with him over that. But I don't see Jace saying anything crazy. I don't see him acting as unhinged as Rhaenyra does towards the end of the war. So I don't see any real head butting with, this guy, Gerardis, whatever you want to call him. So as long as Jace stays not crazy, I see Gerardis staying loyal. And if he doesn't stay loyal, then, go Omega. Just a Maester. They'll send another one. Oh, man, that's awful. All right, Master of Coin, Bartos Celtigar. Yes, another Black Council member just moving over. Hopefully he doesn't make the same choices as in the main timeline as he did and in this one, because he was kind of a very awful Master of Coin in the main timeline. So I see him being replaced by Northerner soon after. Yeah, I moved a lot of the Black Council over, as you can see. But in doing so, except the hand would have been Corlys, but he needs Damon, like I said, and Corlys is getting a spot, of course. But keep in mind, this is the first transitional. He's going to take the people who are loyal to Team Black and put them in these spots immediately, and that is Bartos Celtigar. But if Bartos just starts really sucking at his job, I do see him like, dude, I tried, out. And and if he does do that, Desmond Manderly is definitely a good pick. Like I said, moving into Northman for Hand of the or Master of Coin, or if he's hasn't made it because he doesn't live too long, Medric or Torin Manderly, he could move in. But yeah, Bartos would definitely start with the gig, so I'm giving it to Bartos, but eventually probably replaced by Manderly. All right, we got 3 spots left. Let's do an easy one. Lord Commander. Thanks to Jace taking the throne before the sowing of the dragon seeds. Hey, that didn't happen. So Stefan Darklyn would still be alive. He wouldn't have been roasted, right? He was a fierce supporter of Rhaenyra, even bringing her the crown of her father, which is likely going to be the crown that Jace would use. I see him being a very good Lord Commander. Yeah, Sheet Stealer didn't roast him in this timeline, and we know that he's not only a good knight and a loyal knight, he's specifically loyal to Rhaenyra. He wasn't just at Dragonstone when the lines divided, like other people were. He was actually in King's Landing when the lines, and then he divided, and then he stole the crown and snuck over to King's Landing or to Dragonstone. So he picked Rhaenyra. He is a very loyal Kingsguard. So I see, for multiple reasons, him being named Lord Commander. Absolutely. All right, I got a Master of Whispers. I don't always have a Master of Whispers, but I got one here. I'm sure you guys won't be surprised. It's Misery, the White Worm. Nothing too crazy here. Though Jace might not like her, he probably absolutely doesn't like her, right? A lot of highborn people are not a big fan of Misery because she's lowborn. He would know how useful she is. He would pick that up pretty quick. And I see her earning her spot very fast, improving her worth. Yeah, they got a war still to end. And I do see her helping with like taking down the Reach, maybe even the Lannisters, like if they need to be taken down. If they end up securing the throne, Misery helped. Okay, 100%. So I do see her earning the spot. And depending on her relationship with Dirty Damon, who she probably doesn't even like at this point, she might even support Jace in getting rid of Damon when the time comes, securing her spot even more. She would be needed to help with the rest of the war. Yeah, absolutely. I said that part twice. But I see Misery being like, yeah, I don't really know why you're here. I know my mom wanted you in the small council, but I don't really see it. And she's going to be like, okay, give me a day. And then she's like, here. And whatever it's going to be, I'm not writing this book. I'm just saying, I think that she would prove herself. That's all I'm getting at. You know, having a really decent Master of Whispers is a good thing to have around, especially tumultuous times. All right, we got one last spot, and I pretty much already said it, so it's why drag it on? Master of Ships would be Corlys Velaryon. Saving the best for last for sure, maybe. Maybe. Saving one of the best. That's what I wrote. Yeah, that's more accurate. He is one of the best. He would this would be before Corlys would be alienated by Rhaenyra. Same thing that happened with the Maester, right? For the same reasons, it alienated Corlys. So he would still be loyal. Though he would be pretty pissed about Damon being the hand and not him. Yeah, absolutely. Rhaenys would still likely die in the Dragonfire, and he would need to find an heir. So, yeah, I think he would be mad, so he might turn this spot down, but there's, like, no other really good pick. So he would be like, please, be Master of Ships, at least for now. All right, fine, but I need to find an heir. So he would need to find an heir, right? And he would, yeah, where was I here? He would need to find an heir, and I see the legitimization of the Hall brothers still being a thing in this timeline. Though not, but without the sewing, right? So the Hall brothers, Adam and Alan, come into the fold during the sowing of the dragon seeds. Their mom's like, hey, here's my teenager. They're teenagers in the books. Here are my teenage boys. I'm pretty sure they can fly dragons. One of them can, one of them can't. So I see it happening without that, of maybe Corlys just knows about them and then like walks up, talks to them, and then just legitimizes them. Maybe. I mean, he really does need an heir, right? Yeah, so I see him, seeking them out, the likely bastards, with his desperation of an heir. Adam would live through the war this time, and him and Alan would be named as Velaryons. Adam would be named as heir, but I see Alan being the next Master of Ships after Corlys dies later on, okay? And then maybe even further on be named as Hand, because Alan Velaryon, the Oaken Fist, is kind of a really awesome character. But later on, since Alan is pretty young at this point. Yeah, Alan's only 15 or younger. No, Adam's only 15, so Alan's even younger. Like I said, they are much younger. The Hull brothers are much younger in the books. But I do see them eventually getting into the small council, and not only that, but being really strong allies with Jacaerys. But that's it. That's my small council. This took a little while, but I had a lot to explain. And I'm going to tell you guys straight up, I had to jump through a lot of hoops. If you have issues with this one, okay, that's fine. You try to make this council make sense. You try to make Jace a successful king. Not easy. Not easy. Unless we would say that Rhaenyra somehow succeeded, and then Jace, without Jace dying, see that it would have to happen the way it did, in my opinion. If you find another path, let me know. Please be respectful in the comments, and I'll be respectful in the replies. And yeah, that's all I got. You guys enjoy it? I actually kind of really like this one. It's crazy. It's a little batshit, but I really enjoyed working on this one. So yeah, that's all I got. You guys have a good one. Peace.